and welcome to another Hoodzpah live stream. I am your host, Amy Hood, one half of the founding duo of Hoodzpah. I never know where to put my hands once I do these things. My mic is right here. It's this thing. But hello, welcome. We've got some really friendly faces in the chat already. Clement from Vancouver, what's up? Clement has been slowly diving into the wonder that is George Jones. If you don't know me, you don't know that I love George Jones. There's like some really famous stories about him. He's so funny. Johnny Cash said that George Jones was the guy that everyone thought Johnny Cash was. He was that much of a BA. And people just think he's kind of this sad sap guy who sang honky-tonk love songs. And yes, he was also that. But he also drank himself to death. Okay, it's getting depressing in here. But honestly, his songs are great. He Stopped Loving Her Today. It's awesome. You got to go check it out if you've never heard it. Love me some George Jones. But welcome everyone in the chat. We've got people from Tel Aviv. We've got Vancouver. We've got Stephen Overturf. We always love seeing Stephen in the chat. Ricky from Atlanta. Oh my gosh, so many different people. J. Mark Bowden from the islands. I've been meaning to get over there. J. Mark, are you from Bermuda? Which one is it again? Where are you living? Yeah, but anyway, Sam, honky tonk. Yes, I love me some honky tonk love songs. So welcome to today's stream. How are you doing? What's up? How's things going? I went to the beach this morning. We try to get out once a week because we've pretty much been locked down since March when everything went down. And so we try to once a week get out to the beach, just see nature, see the beach, masks on, maybe read a little bit before it gets super crazy. So yeah, it was really nice. We went to the beach this morning and it was cool. Went down to the Wedge, loved the Wedge. We actually have a poster for the Wedge. Back when we lived in Newport, we were there for Big Wednesday, the second Big Wednesday, not the first one, the John Severson poster one. This one was a Wednesday in 2014, and the waves were, I kid you not, in the 20 feet high range. It's crazy. Also, have you all seen that woman who, I think she surfed a 100-foot wave or something, and it was somewhere random. She's German or something, and it was somewhere, I don't know where it was. Puerto Rico? I don't know, but it was crazy. Google it. If I gave you enough info. Woman surfs giant wave. I don't know. You do the rest. You know how Google works. But thanks everyone for tuning in. Oh, we've got Mexico in the house too. Luisa, welcome. Stephen Overturf asked if I've ever surfed the Wedge. It's crazy. When I was young, growing up in Orange County, we used to go down to the Wedge and I would body surf as a young girl. And I wish I had the confidence that I had back then, because now I look at it and I'm just it hurts to watch. The waves, the way that the surf comes in at this break, it's like this, the waves just crash right on the sand. There's no nice easing you out like Florida has, that nice long shelf. It's just wave meets sand. So if you mess up, it's you could break your back. So now I'm just afraid of it. Isn't that the story of our lives? You're born and then you slowly just become afraid of everything. But yeah, I used to body surf it and now I just watch everyone else. It's pretty fun. But yeah, so today, ooh, Isaac from Boston, what's up? Isaac took our freelance and business and stuff workshop, I want to say, back in the day, right, Isaac? Yeah, so anyway, that workshop has been so cool for us. That and conferences. I used to be someone who made fun of conferences, design conferences, and it's just because I was jealous because I had never been to one because I was too poor. But design conferences are really cool, and you may know this because Adobe Live was free this week, which was incredible because usually they have kind of a steep ticket price. I mean, even I don't even know if I'm normally used to paying that high of a price. We do the vendor alley, so we kind of get a bit of a pass. But yeah, design conferences can be expensive, so I was really stoked when the Adobe team did it for free this year. It was crazy. I hope everyone saw David Cho's. Oh my gosh, if you didn't, it's on demand. I'll put it in the show notes after this is over. It was absolutely hysterical. It was so honest. It was so funny. Just definitely go check it out if that's the only one that you do. It's so good. And then I saw Wes Anderson's, Stanley Tucci, who big crush on Stanley Tucci. He's married to Emily Blunt's sister. Crazy. I know who everyone's married to. One of my most visited sites is Who's Dating Who, and that is all about celebrities dating other celebrities. And I don't know why, but I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated by it. Very nosy. I am very nosy. But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. Again, I'm Amy Hood. Today we are going to be working on designing a coloring sheet. So I want to do an adult coloring book. I've seen some that I love. Alice Lee has an amazing one. I downloaded one of hers to do, and I've seen some really fun ones. I want to say Andy J. Pizza did I want to say it was like punk rock or like indie coloring book, and I'll link that too. I'll find it and I'll link it. But there's some people who have made some really fun, just like niche coloring books, and I think it's time I made one for the kind of thing that I want. So I think what I'm going to, oh, and Sam says celebrities, they're just like us. That is, I seriously quote that all the time, and nobody knows what I'm talking about. I'm like, celebrities just like us. Oh, speaking of celebrities, while I was in Laguna 2 weeks ago or whenever it was, I saw Keith Morrison, Dateline Keith Morrison. If I've already told you the story, I'm sorry, but love true crime, love My Favorite Murder, Dateline, Forensic Files. I've seen every Forensic Files ever. That was the best part of traveling, was that every hotel you could always count on Forensic Files being on one channel, 24/7 reruns, and that was comforting to me. Watching murderers get their dues. I just like the mystery, the murder mystery of it all. So anyway, I love that kind of stuff. So I'm driving down the 133 in Laguna to get to the beach, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Keith Morrison. I knew him by the back of his head. And I yelled at him out of the car like it was spring break in Destin. And he was startled, but he waved. He was really nice. So anyway, but today, speaking of Laguna, we're going to be making this coloring sheet, and I'm going to be doing it based on Laguna Beach, which in my mind is probably the prettiest beach in Orange County. Dare I say it, all of Southern California? I mean, Malibu's gorgeous. Malibu's up there. But oh, and maybe like, oh, what's that one at like the point where it's like right above San Pedro? I can't remember what that beach is called, but it's got that really beautiful church that Frank Lloyd Wright's son designed that's like all glass, and I think they used it in Twilight for the church that they get married in, although that could have been in Pacific Northwest. Anyway, Google it. Google that too. I'll put it in the show notes. It's beautiful. But up there among the most beautiful beaches in Southern California has to be Laguna. And some of my favorites are 1,000 Steps, which it literally is like 1,000 steps. So let me show you. I'm going to turn it over to my design screen, and I'm going to just kind of walk you through a slideshow. Here is 1,000 Steps. It's super steep. I have been there before and seen vomit on the side of the path. It's that many steps, and it's that hard to get up. But it's worth it. Like, this is kind of some of the scenes you'll see. This beach day that I went recently was kind of gloomy. So we're going to like redo the clouds. We'll make them a little bit more exciting. But you can see how this is a different day that I went. You can see how beautiful it is. And it's kind of on this nice cliff where it feels like Hawaii. There's all this like lush palm trees and palm fronds and houses kind of hanging over the cliffs, houses that we could never afford, or maybe we can. I always like to dream like, what the heck do they do for a living? Do you have to be a doctor? Do you have to be a lawyer? Like, what do you have to do to get one of these houses? I got to figure it out. If I ever figure it out, I'll let you all know. But yeah, I'm going to do some sort of variation on this beach that I love, 1,000 Steps. And I'm thinking I might do some sort of like a panorama, or I might just do the ocean, because look how cool. This is just like a Google search image. I was trying to find one where there was actual cumulonimbus clouds, because those are my favorite. And here's some more photos of Laguna. This is kind of like the canyons up, like past those houses. There's all these beautiful canyons and hills and stuff. And this is kind of like the geography that you see up there. It's all like brushy, but really pretty still, but just a little bit more muted. A lot of like sages and light greens and browns, and that's really pretty too. So I was thinking I could maybe do that, but I think I'm set on doing this beach scene. So this is a photo that I took, and you can see like the waves crashing. It's gorgeous. The waves, like this blue over here on the right, mixed with like, kind of the canyon colors that we were talking about before. I kind of like that meeting, and you can't see it super well, but this is a cave of wonders. This is just like the Goonies. This is where like exciting stuff happens. So I'm thinking that if I can like punch up the colors and punch up the detail and maybe zoom in, this would be such a cool section to do. And I'm going to just kind of like superimpose my own clouds on here based on that photo reference. And in this left-hand side, in this little pooling area, I want to do a reflection of the hillside too. And I might even fudge it a bit and add some of those like beautiful palm tree hangings too, even though it's like not exactly there. And here's another example of just like the rocky, beautiful colors that are in the area. So I've got all these different photo references, most of which I have taken, so that's good. So I don't have to worry about, getting in trouble or anything like that. And for, copying too closely, you always want to make sure if you're using a photo for reference or using anything for reference, that you have like maybe 3 sources of inspiration. You have 3 sources. If you're using someone else's photo, try finding 3 different photos and kind of making a conglomeration of all of them. That way you don't get in trouble with stealing other people's work. You don't want to do that. So that's kind of my rule of thumb for me. Find 3 different variations and take a little from each, a little from here, a little from there, and make it your own. Okay, so I'm just pulling these photos into my artboard, and for now I'm just making a 8.5 by 11 artboard. I want to get these printed eventually, and I want to do maybe 10 to 14 pages and be able to sell this in our shop for Christmas. I think that would be really cool. And it's going to be sort of like a California themed coloring book. So it'll be like beach scenes, but we'll also have like maybe Joshua Tree and maybe also like a busy LA kind of gritty, grimy street with all like the signs and stuff. So that's kind of the vibe I'm going for. So this is my artboard. I've got all my colors here on the left. I love having a palette to work with. Picking colors is so hard. I feel like I waste so much time every time I'm trying to pick a new color palette. So the best thing I ever did, and I say it all the time, was make an official color palette for Hoodzpah. We do it for our clients all the time, and yet it took us years to actually finalize a color palette for ourselves. So now I have this great color palette. I had the basic colors, and then I just kept building it out with like secondary colors as I needed them. And now I have them all saved over here in my right-hand side of my little workspace here. You can see I have it in my libraries. I have it synced there so that all of our Hoodzpah team can get to these colors whenever they want to, and it's super easy. So I've got them all pulled out here so I can see them easily. I probably won't need any of these reds. I'll probably mostly be using the blues and the sand tones, maybe a little bit of these pinks and oranges. But yeah. Wonderment Studio asks, oh man, I miss California so much. How do you live there and actually get work done? To be honest, when we lived like on the beach, like a block from the beach and a block from the bay, it was so hard. Like all we wanted to do was just walk to the beach, walk down to get Balboa bars, walk down to get burgers and stuff. Like I don't know how we got any work done, but a lot of people there are just like professional beach bums. There's like this fun game we used to play, which is hobo or beach bum. You can't tell. It's just like everyone is so chill, so relaxed, like super suntan, all this kind of stuff. It's kind of a cool lifestyle of just like, instead of, what do they say? Living to work, working to live. So everyone there is just like, what do I have to do to just live here, surf all day? That's what I need to do. And I kind of love that mentality. So, okay, back to, and before we move on, I have to show you all my favorite shirt that I'm wearing. I'd rather be watching Buffy from Monsters Outside. I love this shirt. It's so good. And I love Buffy. I feel like she's a someone to look up to, a real hero to me. When I think I'm having a hard time with life, I just think Buffy had it harder. She had to get through high school, save the world, and no one thanked her for it. So, okay. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to kind of pick my favorite scene that I'm going to base my design around. And I think for now that's going to be either this shot here with the houses on the side of the cliff, or I've also got this one. I'm going to just delete that one. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to use that one. That I might use for the clouds. This I'm kind of just using for close-up detail on this water. So I think I'll just go ahead and crop into this so that I can get this water. I'm just going to draw a rectangle and then shift select my rectangle in my photo and go Command 7, which is a shortcut for clipping mask. I'm going to put that here. I'm going to create a new layer in my layers panel, and I'm going to drag it to the bottom and name it references. And that's where I'm going to lock all my photo references so that they're not moving all over the place and annoying me. So there's my kind of water reference. Here's my hillside reference for like palm trees and sand and color. I like the saturation on this one. I'm going to go back to my Finder because I feel like there's one that I forgot. Okay, it's these two. I also really like the color of the kind of brushy canyon. So I'm going to scale this down. This kind of squarish one is going to be my composition guide. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to bring my composition guide over here, scale it down a bit so it's like about the size of my page. And I'm going to move that to my reference layer. And I'm also going to, I think what I'll do is I'll zoom in on the hillside in this and kind of crop it so that I can remember kind of what it is I'm trying to get out of this image. And again, throw that over here. And that's probably good. And then I'll also just kind of bring this one down for more reference on color. And I really like the moss on the rocks here. That's cool. So I've kind of got all my references. I'm just going to make sure that they're all selected by dragging a rectangle and holding shift. They're all selected together, and I'm going to move them all onto my references layer, and then I'm going to lock that layer. Now I don't have to worry about those. They're all going to be there. So the next thing I want to do, because I want this to be a paint by numbers, I want to make sure that I can sell this this booklet full of pages, and it'll be like, you know, matte paper, really nice and everything, but I want it to be where whoever buys this can use whatever kind of paint, colored pencil, like pastels, gouache, whatever it is, whatever they want to use as far as medium, I want them to be able to use that. So I'm not going to sell this with any kind of like colored pencils that comes with it. So what I want to do though is make sure that it's kind of easy for them to, like, I could recommend something for them to buy as far as materials that they could use to color in this worksheet. So I want to kind of come up with some standard colors that you can find in coloring pencil packs or, you know, watercolor packs or something like that. And I'm going to kind of call them out. So, you know, for example, and I think, you know, if you get like a 24 color colored pencil set, it comes pretty standard with like these colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to call these out at the beginning of the book. There's going to be a little page that says like, hey, for this coloring page, you'll probably need like a burgundy red, what would this be? Burnt umber, I think is what they used to call it when I used to go to the art supply store for like oil paints and acrylics, and so on and so forth. So I'll call them out that way. But as I'm drawing it right now, I think I'm going to use these color fills so that I kind of know what to recommend. And if people want to get crazy with it and do whatever they want, cool, they can do that. So I'm going to shift select all of my color blocks, and I'm going to make a black outline on all of them. And it looks like I have a roughen texture on, which is weird. Why do I have that? Let me go to my effects. Let's see, distort. No, it's not up there. Distort and transform. Roughen. Do I have something on here? I don't. That's so weird. Why is that doing that? Let's go to appearance up here and check. Okay, yeah, there's some sort of mixed appearance going on here. So I wonder how I get rid of all of that. I'm just going to go delete. Okay, it still says mixed appearances. I really wish I could get rid of that. Oh, it's on these. Okay, all right. Well, I am just going to add that black outline anyway. And basically the reason I want to do that is because I want there to be a black outline on every shape that I draw. And that way I can just remove the fill when I'm done with my design, if that makes any sense. So I think I'm going to start by just kind of outlining the key shapes on this photo that I have. So I've got my pen tool, and I'm just going to start going crazy. And I could probably even use my pencil tool if I wanted to, but I actually prefer the pen tool. And I'm just going to zoom way in here. And I'm using my trackpad right now because my wrist has been really hurting from using my mouse too much. So bear with me here. But I've gotten like pretty fast at my pen tool, so I hope this won't take too long. And I'm just going to kind of, and sometimes I like to go really fast on these like natural organic shapes because it doesn't really matter. Like it's supposed to look kind of jaggedy. So it's like, why take all the time to get it perfect when really, you know, I'm okay. This one is a little bit much, but still, when it doesn't really need to be perfect, it just needs to be pretty dang good. And I'm just going to keep going around and kind of get around to here, zoom out. And I'm so glad right now actually that I learned how to use the shape builder tool because that is going to save me a ton of time. So Thank everybody who said, hey, why are you doing it the hard way? Why don't you learn the shape builder tool? I did, and it was great. Also, if anybody was at the Adobe Max conference, what was your favorite new tool that they debuted? I saw some crazy stuff, especially in Sneaks. Like, Sneaks kind of freaks me out about the future. It's like they're training up the next era of like deep fakers and like, I don't know, catfish scammers. It's cool, but it scares me. Technology scares me. I'm like David Cho. I'm afraid of it. Okay, we've got our little cliff over here. And we're just going to keep going here. Happy little rocks. My friend Hans Benowitz said I was the, he goes, Amy, you're the Bob Ross of graphic design, and I have never received a kinder compliment. Never in my life have, probably never will receive a better compliment than that. Yeah, Ricky, the Photoshop feature that changes people's facial expression, that freaked me out. That was hilarious, them debuting that on Conan. Oh my gosh. I was watching it in the same room as Jen, and Conan was like, oh, I look like Katie Couric. And then they did it again, and Jen was like, now he looks like Mrs. Doubtfire. Oh my gosh, it was so funny. I'm just going to remove this fill really quickly as I kind of go around these rocks because I can't see anymore. I really want to get the iPad though, because all of the new Illustrator stuff for iPad, oh my gosh. Josh Riza was right. My friend Josh goes, they're making design too easy. It's so true. Okay, so that's pretty good. Sometimes I'm not sure, like, I'm like, okay, where do I want this shape to end? I'm thinking I will just continue along here, and I can always cut out my cave hole later. Okay, this is cool. This is cool. And let's see. One thing that was really fun was I was watching, like, for example, I think her name is Valentina V. Ooh, I can't remember, but I really liked her. She was doing like After Effects or Premiere Pro for social media. And she's the one with the really pretty blue hair. And she has awesome eyeliner. Eyeliner game is strong. But it was so interesting because, like, she's clearly a complete pro, like, just knows everything about Premiere Pro and knew all of the shortcuts. But when it came to explaining them or what they were officially called, the official name of these tools, she couldn't remember. And it made me feel a lot better because I don't know the name of any of these official tools. And sometimes I forget how I'm doing it, what it is I'm doing. It's kind of like when I taught my little sister how to drive. I was like, which pedal is go again? It's hard when you're not just doing it. It becomes muscle memory at some point. Okay, so I'm just going to go like real quick on these rocks because, and in fact, I might just go end shortcut and go to my, pencil tool, because these, I kind of want them to be real rocky, real organic. Just going to zoom out. And I think, oops, did the shortcut for my spotlight. And I think part of the interest in adult coloring books as opposed to kids coloring books is like the level of detail, right? So I'm not afraid of getting too much detail. I think that's what people want when they get an adult coloring book. They want it to be a bit harder. They want it to be so hard that it distracts them from the worries of the day, but not so hard that it stresses them out and adds more anxiety. You know what I mean? It's a delicate balance. Me and Jen were laughing because we were watching one of the Hallmark Christmas movies because it's that season. It is Hallmark Christmas movie season. They are already here. You might say, oh, it's not even Halloween yet. They don't care. It's already Christmas in Hallmark and Lifetime world. And if you were worried about any of your favorite, TGIF television show actors, like Steph from Full House, my personal favorite character. I know I should like the twins, but I loved Steph. I loved her attitude. I thought she was spunky. But if you wondered where they were, they're on Hallmark. They're all alive and well and making made-for-TV Christmas movies on Hallmark. but it's pretty funny. Those Hallmark movie plot lines, they're so funny because they have to have that moment in the movie where they're like, oh no, she has to leave because she got her dream job, and is she gonna leave him? It has to be like a problem, but it can't be an insurmountable problem. It has to be like a fairly easy problem. Otherwise, the whole formula for the Hallmark movie just no longer works. And there's absolutely a formula. There has to be. So I've got my pencil tool back to design. You're not here for the Hallmark movie content. I'm just kind of like, I found also like, did you see that? Did you see how I took all the time to like really draw in that cave with all the details, and then the pencil tool just kind of like smoothed it all out? That makes me crazy. I probably should use my dynamic sketch. Actually, I think I will try to do that. Do I have it plugged in? From Astute Graphics, because I found that this one does work a bit better. So I'm just going to start with this instead. I might have to fix the, yeah, that is real thick on the stroke. We'll go back down to 1, and I'll pick back up here. I find that this gives me a lot of a tighter line. Sometimes the tail is a bit too long for me, so I'm going to go down to 36 on that. But it's some getting used to on the tail thing, but once you get used to it, it is really nice how precise it feels. So shout out to Dave Clayton and all the Astute Graphics people. Okay, so let's see if that, let's see if where that ended. Did that end? Oh, and it somehow is connected to this. I wonder if I click in. Oh, geez. Okay, well, that's okay because we'll use the shape builder tool. But sometimes I don't know how it just kind of continues on the path, the same path, even though it's clearly like its own thing. Sometimes Illustrator is a bit of a mystery. Okay, so we're going to go dynamic sketch tool again. And I'm going to start kind of doing, I think what I'm going to start doing is, let's do the horizon line first. Let's get our like really key shapes in first. So I'll start over here. Just get my pen tool, hold shift down to get like a nice flat line. The one that's in there right now is not flat. So we'll do that. And I've got my A direct select, and I'm pulling this, gonna pull this anchor point just back to meet on that path. And we'll pick up the path again here, go down and meet at the corner. And I'm trying to make all my paths pretty clean and meet up kind of on top of each other so that when I use the shape builder, it's all pretty ready to go. But sometimes the snap to point doesn't quite work as good as you want it to. Okay, so that's pretty good. There's that. And now let's do this shelf. There's this really cool, it has to be man-made, but like it looks like it's from Grecian times or something, Greco-Roman times. But there's like this built-in like reflection pool kind of thing. It's like this little rectangle, and it just fills with water when the tide is really high. And it's pretty cool. And I don't know who built it, but it's really neat. And it's like, feels like you're not even in Southern California. It feels like you're in some Grecian isle in the ruins. I just recently watched The Trip by, what's his name again? Steve Coogan. Oh my gosh, he's so funny. And they did Greece this time. And those guys just crack me up. Just like I'm obsessed with stars' personal lives, I'm like, as soon as I watch those movies, I have to Google to see what was real and what was just written for the movies. Because the whole point of the movie is it's supposed to seem like it's their real lives. Like they use their names. They even like, I don't know if that's actually his son that plays his son, but some of the people seem to be real. Like I'm assuming his assistant is really his assistant. I haven't Googled that one yet, but it's such an interesting thing. I'm sure it's kind of like how the Grand Tour with those British guys is like pretty scripted. They use their names and everything, but some of the drama seems a bit drastic. Okay, so I'm just continuing on with some of these like key parts. This little ledge here. This will probably be in that rust color. I'm really going to up the colors. I'm not going to do anything, for my example, because I think it's cool when they show you, kind of like when you buy a puzzle and they have the picture of the puzzle on the box. I like that. I want to have that for each of them. I want to show like how it can look filled. And I think I might even include, tell me what you think about this. It might be cool to include a digital download of the book so that people who want to do like print out bigger variations can do that. I think that would be really cool. And then you could do like a painting. It'd be neat. Okay, so that's going to go there. Yep, we're making progress. And I'm just going to do my dynamic sketch again here. Get some of this. Let me get that. Oh, weird. I think I have to have that unselected so that it won't create a new path. As intuitive as a lot of these tools are, I find that half the time they intuit what I didn't want them to do. So that's why I just always default to the good old pencil. It hasn't failed me yet, unless it was my fault. Unless it was only me to blame. Okay, so there's that kind of step. And I think now I can do some kind of wonky shape, or pencil tool stones, because we really want these to be weird, to get weird with it. It's looking good. And Ricky Haggerty is asking, is this coloring book going to be digital or printed? Like I was saying, I think I'm going to print the copies so that you have them like ready on hand, or so that it's like a good gift to give at Christmas, because it's really nice when someone gives you something that you can unwrap, right? Like there's something, you want to have that tactile thing. But I think it'd be really cool to create the downloadable version that comes with it. Like you could get a link, and then you could have these like, vector size printouts that you could size to anything you want. And then you could make a living room 36 by 72 inch. That's not even that big, is it? That's like what? 6 feet by, that's pretty big. Okay, that'd be big. But you could make like a big, like centerpiece for your living room for above the couch, which actually the reason I'm making this is because I want that. I have this area behind my couch that right now is like a photo collage wall. It's got some paint by numbers, things that I found at some garage sales in like Minneapolis and just like as we were touring, and some, photos from my friends like Scott Topfer and Samson Hatse, and I love it, but it's been that way for probably 5 years, I want to say. Like I brought it over from my other house, and I think it's time for something new. And I was like, it'd be cool to have a really big painting here. So I was like, oh, I could do like my own paint by numbers because I love that look, that really graphic look. But I could just do it of my own work. And so here we are. So here we are making something that we want and hoping that maybe other people want it too. And maybe they'll buy it for themselves or loved ones. I think that's how most products start. I think that's what Lauren Holmes' whole talk was about, was like, find your niche, find your people who like the things you like, and you'd be surprised that, what you want to buy, they probably also want to buy. And there's your audience for your products. All right, so there's that. I want to like really get into the detail on some of these like shadows, and let's just call them slime marks. There's like these like slimy sections where the water is continually hitting the rocks when the tide is in, but then when it comes out, all of this like kelp and moss and dried crab shells, carcasses just kind of congregate. Okay, so that can go there. I want to make sure also there's like a good amount of highlights and contrast. So I'm going to get this highlight here. Yeah, that can go there. Oh, and Yessie Ortiz says, will Jen ever be live? Yessie, let's pressure her. Jen, every time I get on, I'm like, Jen, you should join me. It'll be so fun. But also Jen has client work, and she's making that money for Hoodzpah, so I can't be mad. And that's honestly, our clients love Jen. Jen is by far the favorite sister when it comes to our clients, I think. But Yessie, let's pressure her. Zed James in the house. Zed, tell Jen that she has to get on stream with us. That's why I used to love doing our Adobe live streams. in San Francisco. Those were so fun. Not only did we get to go to San Francisco, which is such a cool city. I really loved it. It's so walkable. And it's got that like East Coast feel where the buildings are old. And I feel like nothing's that old here, except for the missions. The missions are cool. But yeah, I think that's why I liked doing the Adobe live streams, is because Jen was always on there with me, and we get each other. We have some fun. Also, Drew Wilson's in the house. Drew Wilson is one of the funniest people I know. He's a designer. He's a founder. He's sold so many companies. He drives a Tesla, and he owns like a big old house in California. So Drew is one of these houses. We were looking at these houses on the hill. Just have to zoom in and show you. These houses in Laguna. We were like, what do you have to do to have these houses? Well, apparently, start a conference, start a company, sell it. I guess we have to do what Drew did. Tell us your secrets, Drew. Hop in the chat. Tell us what you're doing. Okay, so I don't know where I left off. Oh, here we are. Good. All right, so I'm going to grab my pencil tool again and get a little bit more willy-nilly with it. Get these like really light rocks going out. And then what I like to do is every now and again, like I don't like to get too far without kind of seeing where I'm going. And sometimes it's hard when you're working on top of like a photo reference or your sketch to kind of see the wood for the trees. So that's why I always put my sketch almost parallel with my artboard. And then what I do is I just Option Shift, like once everything is selected. So you rectangle select that. And then I'm just going to Option Shift and drag it perfectly over to my artboard to kind of see where am I at. Like, where does this cut off? I don't want to draw a bunch of detail that's actually going to get cut off because it's not in my frame. So this kind of gives me an idea of where we are. And then I'll usually just like group that section. And I'll just keep building on top of that. And I'll leave this so that when I bring over more detail, it kind of snaps to the point. So yeah, this is my method to my madness, so I can see what's going on. And now I can kind of see where my crop is. I think I'll go ahead and just draw my artboard in a rectangle. And I'll do the same trick but backwards so that I can have a little frame over my image and I don't waste any precious time. And then it should just eventually snap. I think we're there. Yeah, we are. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Shift, unselect my frame, and delete that extra that I brought over. Now I can lock this on the bottom layer. So I'll unlock that bottom layer, drag this item down there, lock it, so that's like my frame. Now I always know where we're going. Okay. So we're making good progress. So I've got some of these rocks. The cool part about this is like once I do some of the detail here, I can just reflect it on the reflection on the water. So that's kind of cool. It's kind of a little cheat. I'm always looking for cheats. Uh-oh, still in the wrong layer. Okay. Drew Wilson says it's not all sunshine and butterflies living in his swanky house with his Tesla. He says he had to chase a coyote off his lawn. That was just chilling in the daylight. So life on the hill, on the top of the hill, it's not always sunshine and butterflies. Yeah, we have coyotes too here actually. They just like poop on our driveway every night and leave like dead animal pellets. It's intense. I saw one time. He was really cute. He was a little baby. I don't think he knew yet that he should be scared of humans. He was so cute. He was just like chilling in the morning, trotting through our neighborhood. Right now I'm dealing with moles and gophers. I have moles and gophers everywhere. And they're ruining my lawn. How old am I? Okay, so remember when I drew that frame and then I said, this is how you save time. You don't work outside of your frame. You don't draw detail you don't need. Well, I just did that. So I'm going to just get all my detail and I'm just going to move it in here. It'll look good in here too. Yeah, we'll move it in here. Figure out a place for it. Okay. So I'm going to draw this thing. And actually, maybe the pencil tool is actually the perfect tool for this because you want the paths to be complex, but you don't want them to be too tight because it's like you want to make sure it's able for like a human hand to even follow. So I think it's kind of good. And maybe we'll also draw in just like some line work just to create detail. It's not a fill. It's just so that if there's like a big fill, there's like a bit of interest, you know? But Drew, I agree that I love living in the canyons. It's like a little hunk of Kentucky in California, and I like that. It's pretty cool. Oh, Lindsay Victoria Lee said they have so many coyotes there too. She's in San Francisco. That's crazy. Wait, Lindsay, where are they? That's wild. The thought of like urban coyotes is really funny to me. I kind of love that. People and animals living together in the city. Doesn't that sounds like a sitcom? They come from different worlds. It kind of writes itself. Okay, so I find that when I use my pencil tool, most of it is just re-going over it and trying to get it to actually listen to what you said the first time. So this is kind of this cool, like, I think I'm going to turn it into anyway. It sort of looks like it might be, but this cool, like, mossy overhang of wild shrubbery and succulents. It's kind of amazing. California is such a dry, arid climate mostly, especially Southern California. But we still have all this greenery that somehow grows in these like impossible climates. It's kind of cool with like very little water. It's really neat. I love a California native garden. They're so pretty. Acacia trees, that kind of stuff. That doesn't need that much water, but somehow it's just like thriving. Desert flowers, we have a couple cactuses and they flower at night. The flower is ginormous. Like it seems like the cactus is wasting all of its water on this one flower instead of like saving it to just live. It's kind of funny. And it blooms this like gigantic blossom and then it's just dead the next day. It's kind of crazy. So Drew says, I once stayed at a horse place in Kentucky when I used to live in an RV. Wait, what? You lived in an RV? Yeah, Kentucky Downs. Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. I can't imagine you living in a van. I feel like everybody does that now. It's like a rite of passage of like, you have to live in New York City, which I've never done. I lived in upstate New York, but apparently people tell me that doesn't count. That New York is not, the rest of New York doesn't count. You have to live in New York City. But I feel like everyone has to live in a van. It's like a rite of passage as a creative. My dad actually did that with my mom after they got married. I kind of think it's why they might have got a divorce. They spent a whole year living out of an RV and they visited all of the 50 states. If that's not a recipe for putting your relationship to the test, I don't know what is. All right, there's that. Oh, and Chris asks, Carissa, what's up? I've been talking with you in the DMs on Instagram. I love your hair. But she asks if we're affected by the wildfires. Luckily, we're not. I can't believe what I'm seeing from like Santa Cruz and even down south here in the Angeles National Forest and like towards Riverside. I'm really thankful that we're not near that. But it's crazy how far the ash spreads. I mean, not only are we getting a ton of ash here, not so much anymore, but people in like Canada and like New England are also getting the ash. I was talking to my friend Dan Cedarholm, founder of Dribble, y'all. Like, important guy. But he's actually like just the nicest, like regular guy. He's so nice. Like if you DM'd him and just asked him like, hey, tell me about your life, like he would answer you. He's that cool. But anyway, he was saying that they have ash particles all the way up in New England. Now, I'm not a weather expert or anything, but I think it's like the jet stream that pulls those up. Nature's cool. Nature is cool. All right, so I've got all these. Let's just zoom in there, and I've got all these little details that I just added. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a rectangle around that area that I just filled all that into. I'm going to select one of like my key bigger shapes so that I have something I can snap to. And I'm going to first I think I'll group those. And then I'm going to option drag like we did the last time and fill in more of this detail on this side. And I'll just double click in so that we don't have a double of that one. And you can see we're starting to get somewhere. So all of these eventually will be filled. And maybe I'm getting a bit crazy with the detail. If it ends up being too tight, I think what I'll do is I'll just kind of zoom into a section. So maybe what we do is we just focus on this section down here. So if we have to crop in, we can easily crop from the upper right and bring it in. And that way it's not like the most impossible coloring sheet there ever was. Also, I think it could be interesting if like this bottom area is really detailed and then the clouds and the sky is a bit more, simplified. So maybe we'll do that. Maybe that's like our method to our madness. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm liking that. Trevor Gerard's in the chat. What's up, Trevor? Yes, Trevor. Trevor also wants to know, what the heck, Jen? Where are you? Everybody wants Jen. And I agree. Let's peer pressure her. So far, we've got 3 votes for Jen. More screen time with Jen. She says she'll do it. And I think if we peer pressure her, she really will. So I'm just going here. And I'm going to have that just go off to the cliff's edge. Just kind of following some of these shadows. And I'll kind of continue it on up here. And actually, that hill is kind of boring. I think I might kind of add a bit more excitement there and then try to get rid of that more boring line. All that work and it just did a boring line anyway. Okay, well, it was meant to be, I guess. Austin Ryan said, Texas is just now getting cold. It's about that time. I'm about to just buy a onesie from all my Zoom calls. I love that. Oh man, I just invested in some loungewear, some like comfy stuff for colder weather. I feel like California, it's like endless summer for 9 months, but then then we're like totally not prepared for when it finally does get cold. I think that was just a humble brag. That was really gross. I heard it as soon as it came out, and I'm really sorry. But I actually do. I love California weather. I love it so much. Sometimes I miss fall, and then I just tell my cousin to send me pictures of Kentucky, and then I get my fill, you know? All right, let's see. If we zoom in here, I think that's all looking pretty good. We've got like a little bit of detail everywhere. I think I might just do kind of a bigger blob here. I won't get too crazy with it. I also find that if I want the pencil tool to react better to me and recognize more of my details and not just do like a smoothed out version of what I'm wanting, if I do like small little strokes just like that where I kind of do a stroke, pick up the pencil, do a stroke, pick up the pencil, that also really helps, I find. I don't know if it's scientific, but it works for me. Okay. That's good. And then what I think I'll do is I'll do this little kind of cave coming up this hill. And I want to make sure, I think I'll actually do it here because I want there to be a clear end to that white part, like this white highlight in this hill. So I think I need to do that. I think that makes sense. All right, so we'll do this. We'll know what's missing once we start filling in the color, and then we can add and, go from there. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. This is all going to be like fun, lush stuff. I really want to add some palm trees. I know they're not there, but I might take artistic license and just add them in there. I love a palm tree. Okay, so now let's do this like shady area. We'll do it pretty quick. We'll pick up the pen a lot and see if that helps keep the shapes that I'm trying to draw better. We have to do this little rocky area. And Prax Cruz says places like Minnesota are getting 8 inches of snow right now. For real? That's crazy. I feel like we finally just dipped below like 90. Yeah, we visited Minneapolis for a conference, and we did a workshop. I guess it was just it was for a workshop. Yeah, we did it at Foolproof, which is Meg Lewis's studio, which was really fun. And there are so many awesome designers in Minneapolis. It's crazy. It's such like it's It's got its own little scene. When I was growing up, I was really inspired by the guys at Aesthetic Apparatus, which is like a poster print shop. It's kind of like a more 90s, 2000s like hat show print. That's what I think of it as. I feel like they're that, I don't know. For me anyway, they were like, I really looked up to them as like, oh my gosh, this is the kind of graphic design that I want to do. Okay, that looks good. I also want to be careful that I don't do too many sections that are just like big blocks of color. Because imagine if you were coloring this with colored pencil. I don't know. I just feel like it might get to be a lot. So I think I might even fudge some of this stuff that, and make some breaks where there aren't any, just for the sake of people's wrists and switching it up and making sure it's not something that gets to be boring. Okay, so this kind of is like where this ledge comes in. Thousand Steps is crazy because there's like the two camps. There's like the camps that are like, oh, I love this beach. It's so pretty. Like, we'll try to make it down these steps without throwing up. I'm so sorry we keep talking about throwing up. And then there's the other group that legit like run the steps. You will never feel more inferior than you do hanging out in Southern California with these people. They are so in shape. Like when I was growing up in Kentucky, like I remember we didn't have, like there wasn't 24-hour fitness. There wasn't a gym. Like as soon as you were done with high school or college and you weren't playing, college football or I don't know, whatever it was your sport, maybe like softball or volleyball or whatever your sport was, like that was it. You just, no more working out. You give in, you get the sweatpants and you enjoy biscuits and gravy and salt cured ham. I'm sure that's totally different now. But at the time that felt like how it was. But then we moved out here and everyone was so healthy. Like I was raised on Little Debbie cakes, Coca-Cola, Lay's potato chips, Eggo waffles. Like those were my main food groups every day. That's what I ate every day. And sometimes a can of baked beans. Or sometimes my stepdad would make us salt cured ham with biscuits and gravy. It was so good. But like that's what I was raised on. And then we got here and I was introduced to Trader Joe's. And honestly, I'm very thankful. I'm thankful that I learned how to eat healthy. But I think that sometimes Southerners are just made of, like their stomachs must be made of lead. Like there might be something to that. I don't know. Maybe not. But yeah, now I'm much healthier. Steven says, heck yeah, the South, Arkansas boy here. That's really funny. Yeah, I still really love Southern food, but it's so funny when you're not used to it anymore. And tell me if this is you, Steven. But like, I'm not used to eating that way anymore. So like when I go back and I'm like, I just want a dry vegetable. Like they don't do salads. I mean, I think it's different probably like if you go to Louisville or Nashville, of course. Of course, Nashville is different. Nashville is like so metropolitan. And I'm sure same with Atlanta and all that kind of stuff. Atlanta was like a food mecca. Oh my goodness. The food there was incredible. We went to so many amazing restaurants. But in my little smaller town of Bowling Green, Kentucky, which is not that small. It's actually like the third largest town in Kentucky. But there, I mean, I swear, if you want a salad, you better be ready to eat. It's 70% ranch dressing and croutons and then 30% iceberg lettuce. And that's it. I just wanted a dry vegetable by the end of my trip home. So I like it. I think the key here is to keep a balance. I don't want to be like, I'm not trying to be the healthiest person in the world, but also I think it's good that I'm probably not eating the way that I used to, Lay's potato chips every day and 2 Cokes a day. 2 Cokes a day. That's crazy, man. Also, people who drink Diet Coke and they'll have like 3 to 5 Diet Cokes a day. They'll have like a case a day. They measure it like pots of coffee, like people who drink a pot a day. That's wild. I can only do like 1 coffee if I'm feeling real wild and I have a lot to do, maybe a lot to get done and I want to treat myself. Sometimes I'll do 2 coffees, but I mean, after that, I just become worthless. Then you're just like a ball of anxiety and like energy that's not going anywhere. Okay, Giatermia. Hello, love from Nick and Andrew coming from Adobe Live. What's up? Oh, and Andrew's here. Andrew Hockrattle is in the house from Adobe Live. He is Adobe's sweetheart streamer. I mean, I think he has like Andrew, how many shows do you have? 3 different shows. He has one with Nick Longo, who's an amazing teacher and educator and designer at Cal State Northridge. And then he does Adobe Live. He does all sorts of stuff. Good for you. Andrew was a teacher, and then I forgot how, I don't remember how you got hooked in with Adobe Live, but eventually they got hooked in together, and it was just like match made in heaven. It's kind of cool how, and he's like such a personable person. He had already been live hosting like Creative South and doing emceeing, that kind of thing. So I think once Adobe found out about him and just like how personable he was, it was just like match made in heaven. And that's right, we're coming back to Adobe. We are going to be doing a live stream with Andrew on his show Design in the Dark on, I think, November 2nd and 3rd. So it's just a little bit over a week, so it'll be really fun. So definitely tune into that. So basically what they do is Andrew comes up with a design Mad Lib. It is as horrifying as it sounds. Him and the chat just Mad Lib, spit out ideas, and then they create something like a logo project that I then have to design in an hour. In an hour. I'm scared and excited. Okay, so this is looking good. I think I'm going to continue to just go crazy on this rocky stuff, but just really with the pencil tool, just kind of get crazy with it. Nothing too precious. Nothing too precious. The cool thing is like I said, if something kind of looks weird, you can just redraw over it with your pencil tool and it'll adjust the line. I love that. I use that all the time. Oh, sometimes it loses it. I think it just lost something, but that's okay. We'll add that in later. Lindsay Victoria Lee, she's the best. I love her. I wish we lived closer, Lindsay, and maybe one day after the pandemic's over, we can like hang out in real life because I feel like we're such good internet friends. I just love your positivity and your vibe. Lindsay hosts Lunch Club, which I've told you all about a couple times, but you should definitely check it out. Every day at lunch, every work day at lunch, she's like hosting amazing artists, doing really cool interviews about the process and things like that. It's basically like a free Adobe Max every day for an hour. That's one really cool thing that's come out of like quarantine is just like the creativity. Like everyone's getting on TikTok too. That's another exciting thing. Like what's Jean-Ralphio from Parks and Rec? What's his real name? I can't remember. If chat, if you know it, let me know. But that guy is on TikTok. Oh my gosh, he's so funny. And he's best friends with like every celebrity. So like he's just making hilarious content with like John Mayer and Tim Middleditch, Thomas Middlemarch. You know, the guy from Silicon Valley. And it's just so funny. He's so funny. Okay. Jean-Ralphio. Yes, Justin Roy. Jean-Ralphio. What's his real name, though? I can't remember his real name. He's so funny. Okay. So we are doing this. Okay, and so now I think what I'm going to do is do the same thing that I did the last time, which is just start pulling over some of these little details so that I kind of know where they're going. And eventually I have to do the shape builder tool with all this. Whew, that will be fun. That will be interesting. Okay, so what we'll do is I don't want to get all this that I've already done. So I'm just going to unselect that. Luckily it grouped it all so that I wouldn't wonder like, what have I brought over? What haven't I? I like to group things for that reason. So I'm going to group this that I have now. I am going to copy this line and use it as my reference point. I'm just doing Command F to paste it in front. And I'm shift selecting it with my shapes that I just drew. And I'm going to Option Shift Drag and use this line as my guide to get everything to snap right into place. Sometimes you have to kind of zoom in and you can see it's a little off, but there we go. That's it. Okay, so now I'm just going to, holding Shift, deselect that line. Actually, I'll just delete it there. And I do need to figure out this situation. I think what I'll do is I'll just actually cut it right there where it meets the hill because the new hillside that I drew is like not that much better than kind of the old one. So we'll keep the old one. Yeah, that's looking good. Oh, Audrey Campbell, it's fuzzy on your screen. Ugh, I don't know. I actually have an Ethernet cable hooked into my computer all the way to my house. This is like kind of like an extra room. And so I'm really hoping that the internet's okay. I don't know, maybe refresh. I don't know. but I hope it gets unfuzzy for you. Internet man. You'd think by now. Somebody tell Elon Musk that Mars is great and all, but could we get like trusty Wi-Fi for a reasonable price? Also shipping rates. Speaking of shipping rates, we're going to take just a quick break for me to tell you about what today's live stream is brought to you by. The new mugs that I designed for Hoodzpah. They're completely ridiculous. It says Helvetica in the streets, Cooper Black in the sheets. It's ridiculous. Honestly, I was like, do I hate myself for making this, or is this like the coolest thing ever? I decided I think we should make it. I ran it by Paul Hutchison, my friend, and a few other people, Josh Ariza, Josh Hemsley, a couple people, and just said, is this ridiculous? I don't know. We all agreed that I think it was worth it. So if you want those, today's stream is brought to you by those. They are available in our shop, and it's been really hard trying to figure out how the heck to ship mugs for under $10. Under $10 in the United States. Under $25 internationally. It's a bummer. Okay, so if you like those, they're in the shop. They're only $13.75, I think, is what we priced them at. And mugs are expensive these days. They are like $15 everywhere else, but I really don't like when things are too expensive. So I like it to be doable for the masses. So hopefully 13 is a little bit better on your pocketbook. Money left to go to In-N-Out. Okay. Okay, look at this. Look at this. It's looking good. Okay, so we have the whole like bottom left corner like pretty well done. I am seeing some areas where I'm like, what even is that? I feel like I need to add in a bit more detail on some of these, but generally it's looking pretty good. And at a certain point, I feel like I can just kind of make it up. You know what I mean? But yeah. Trevor says shipping breakable items is crazy. It is. It's so nuts. It's really hard to keep it reasonable. Sometimes I find that I'd rather just like pad it into the pricing, because it's like when somebody sees like we were only going to charge, $11 for the mugs. And then, but the shipping is so expensive that I figure I'll put the price into the mug, and then people aren't like, what the heck? $11 shipping? Then it could just be $6 shipping and we kind of eat the cost. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's all psychology selling is. It's so weird. It's so weird. So this is the cave, and I want to remember that. So I wonder if there's a way besides doing the shape builder tool now. Maybe I should just do it now, because I feel like I need some North Stars. So I'm going to go over to my shape builder tool, and I'm just going to fill this one in because I'm getting a bit lost in my own design. Then I have to figure out how to just get to it. Is it like grouped in here? Okay, it is. I'm just going to put that on top. And, maybe I'll copy it. And then Command F. And then I'll just fill that with black, because that'll be my North Star of what the heck I'm looking at. Cool. Audra Campbell asks what software we're doing this in. Right now, we're doing this illustration in Adobe Illustrator. I'm kind of old school. I don't have an iPad yet, so I haven't tried out like Procreate or even like Adobe Fresco, but I'm sure that would actually be like the most easy thing to do this in. So I probably should look into that. Yeah. Okay. All right. So also I can't tell. I think this area here is like my water reflection. I think I'm also going to start blocking in some of that stuff so that I just know what I'm actually looking at. So this is the water reflection. Okay. So I'm going to do dynamic sketch tool from Astute Graphics, and I'm going to draw in some of these, like, they don't have to be perfect, these like water ripples. I can fix them later. That's okay. It does that thing where it keeps like taking over my other line. So I'm just going to do that one more time. These little ripples. Okay, that's good. And what I might do, see how those edges are all really hard and I don't really want that? When you select your like a path and then you go A to get your like direct select, your corners thing comes up here in your corners thing. Your corners radius comes up in your navigation bar, and then you can kind of just round those. I do that cheat a lot. And then sometimes I'll just go in here and like actually redo it if it doesn't quite listen, but I find that to be a really handy cheat. Okay, so that looks good. That looks good. And then maybe what we do is just kind of like get like, how it would kind of go like that. and then really wide at the bottom, I think. Oof, that's rough. That is rough. Okay, so we're just gonna go like that. This honestly looks so bad. That's okay. We're just gonna redraw over it and just keep going. That's my motto. Just keep going. There we go. That's a little better. And I think it's gonna be surprising, like once we fill it in, if we just keep going, I think it will look better. I think it kind of always looks weird when it's just outlines. I think that's just the nature of it. So yeah. Welcome, Nicholas Forey. Welcome, everybody that's new. Snappy Lens, I too am very excited for Illustrator on iPad. I think me and Jen were talking, I think Jen's going to get an iPad because I have a Wacom tablet. And so I think she's going to get the iPad and then test out like all the new cool stuff for the iPad. It's like almost too cool to pass up. And I always thought that iPads were really expensive, but then my little sister looked them up and she was like, they're only like $400. And I was like, what? And I mean, that's of course not cheap, but when you compare it to like, I don't know, a laptop, you know, comparatively, it's not that bad. Okay, so yeah, let's do that. Let's do that for those. And I'm going to add this little ledge here. I think that's also where I'm feeling confused as to like, where am I on this illustration? That is good. Yes, that. And eventually I have to add all this rocks in. Oy. Okay, so I think I did group all this. Yep, I was smart. If you don't group it and then you try to do this whole dragging thing, it can be really hard because you'll group doubles and then it's just kind of annoying. So I'm just going to group these and option drag them over into my scene. And I think when you get this far, sometimes you kind of know where you are and you don't have to do the whole like take the horizon line for reference. You can kind of just start to fill it in. So I've got that. I think what I'm going to do, I am obsessed with cumulonimbus clouds. That's like the really puffy, I think I deleted. Oh, that's like these beautiful clouds that are like really puffy and they're like cotton candy clouds. I love those. So these are the kind that I like to draw. They're very rarely in California, but it's a style choice, okay? It's an aesthetic. Bee's in the chat, everyone. Everybody welcome Bee. Bee's our little sister, and she's also the queen of shipping, the queen of the email. She answers all your email if you write into info@hey Bee, what's up? But I think I'm going to add those into my drawing. And guess what I do? I cheat, y'all. So I did a project with the Lakers. Yes, that was a humble brag. It was one of the biggest moments of my life, so we're talking about it. But I did a project with the Lakers, and I used these cumulonimbus clouds. And so I often will just go back to an old project, something that I've worked on for a client where I use those or for myself, and I'll just open up that file and just copy in the clouds as a starting point. So here's this poster series we did for the Lakers for their 60 years in the NBA. And here's the clouds that I did. I'm going to copy those and I'm going to go back to my drawing and I'm just going to paste them in. I'm also going to save because I don't think I've saved yet. Okay, so we're going to go to today's stream, YouTube, videos, 2020. Look how organized I am. And 1019. I'm going to save it here. And we're going to call it Laguna Beach Coloring Page. Save. Now we can Command S this baby. Okay. Oh, Drew Wilson, you love the Lakers stuff? Thank you so much. Kalia, love all that organization, Kalia. Amen. That is my, you know how people talk about love languages, which used to make me really gag, but it's true. We do have love languages. And I think mine might be organization. I think it's so important for just like being as like a time saver, especially when you work for yourself. Okay, so you can see that I turned those clouds that I had from Lakers colors to, oh, you know what I might do? Because I don't want all this, see how there's like all this mess down here of like underneath, you know, shapes and all this kind of stuff. I think I might go ahead and just use the shape builder tool on some of this. I wonder if you can do it while it's grouped. Let's give it a go. I'm going to pick my shape builder tool and yeah, okay, I'm just going to like make this a bit cleaner before I use outlines. So that's one shape. Cool. I think that's kind of the main one. No, these ones too. Okay. And that one? Yeah. Actually, we'll do these two. Okay, so now I think I can do my outline thing and it will work. It won't be really ugly. Okay, so now I've got all these shapes and I'm just going to eyedropper. The, keyboard short command for that is I, and I'm going to eyedropper this other thing. Yep, it worked. Totally worked. Okay, so this is what you call cheating. People who are known for things like Hawk Rattle said, show us those Hoodzpah clouds. People have been telling me that. They're calling them the Hoodzpah clouds. I'm rebranding cumulonimbus clouds for a very small demographic of designers who know who I am, and they are going to be called the Hoodzpah clouds. But this is what I'm known for. This is what I like. And I find that instead of trying to recreate it each time, I used to feel like it was cheating if I reused stuff. But it's not cheating. It's saving yourself time, and time is sanity, and time is money. So there it is. Okay, Yarin L has a question. He says, I'm sorry if you already answered this, but are you using pixel grid when using the pencil tool? I am not using the pixel grid. I actually hate the snap to grid. I usually only use smart guides, and that I find is enough for me. I find snap to pixel makes me absolutely insane. I really hate it with a fiery passion, but I'm also not a web designer. So it's like, I'm not trying to make some pixel perfect stuff. You know what I mean? So yes, Stephen Overturf, can we please start a campaign to change Nimbus clouds to Hoodzpah clouds? Let's do it. Let's make it happen. We'd get all of 400 signatures probably. Okay, so here's my clouds. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat again. I'm going to go into my Finder and I'm going to open up a project we did for Herb Lester. Go into my H's here. Oh, I already put that on the backup drive. Can't do that. Okay, that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I've kind of become good at just kind of like winging it. So I think I'm just going to wing it and draw a few more. Oh, man. Okay. Watch me struggle here as I just kind of go nuts with it. I try not to get too crazy. There's like some bigger sections and then it'll get really, detailed, and then it'll kind of like peter out. Like that, looking good. And then we'll kind of go to here. There we go. It just has to meet up to my other lines so that I can use the shape builder tool. And some of this is rough, but that's okay. I found that like, instead of getting so obsessed with some of the stuff that looks a little awkward, just keep going, because honestly, once it all is done, people don't notice. It's like when you're looking at like a Monet or a Manet in, honestly, either, I know the difference, but either of them in the museum, no one usually gets up close and gets, first of all, you don't want to get yelled at by the museum, security guards. They will say something if you get too close. I know this because I saw Jacques-Louis David's traveling exhibit at the Getty, and they did. They told me, girl, step back. You're too close. Can't be breathing on these, priceless works of art. But yeah, so don't worry about it being a little bit messy. Nobody will zoom in that far. And when you walk back and step back from it all, as long as it looks good as a whole, I find that that's the key. You got to always step back and look at it as a whole. And then sometimes what I'll do is I'll kind of like keep going firm here, redraw some stuff, create some shadows and things like that. And we're just winging it. And then say there was like a little cloud in here. There might be a little background. That's going to be the background. And then this will be like that. More like that. Yep. And these details over here are a lot finer, so I don't want to get too loose over here. I think we should kind of zoom in and make some finer details so it doesn't feel like a mismatch, like we really did just cheat. If you're gonna cheat, you gotta hide the work. The worst is when you cheat and you didn't even try to hide it, make it your own. I mean, that's when the teacher just gets pissed. It's like, come on, give me a little credit here. Cool. And this weird preview of like those edges, those won't print, so that's fine. So I'm not worried about that. Yeah. Future says Monet was terrible with his Photoshop brushes, pixelated and stuff. That's so funny. What's the famous painter's name who painted in dots? I remember when we had to do like the stippling project in high school, I was so impatient. Oh, everybody, what are you watching right now? I need new TV shows. I'm all out. I've already watched Brassic. I might even watch it twice. If you haven't watched it yet, I know I keep recommending it. I'm that person who recommends something to the point where nobody actually wants to watch it. I'm pushing it that hard. I don't want to be that person, but here we are. Okay, that's looking good. That's looking good. Oh, Surat. Yes, Lindsay, that's it. Surat. They did like all the dots of point of all the people on the grass with the umbrellas looking out onto the ocean. That level of detail and dedication and just patience, that is interesting to me. I love very detailed stuff. I love more is more. That's why I love Jacques-Louis David. When you look at his paintings and you really get close, which I did, and they yelled at me, you can see he painted the veins in their hands that were underneath the skin. Like, I love that kind of detail. Like every little shine. And a lot of those classic paintings, there was a style that was popular for how to paint people. It's why everyone kind of looks the same. There was actually a style like, having a high forehead or, things like that. People wanted to look good. And it was kind of like the filters of the day, right? The painters would paint you in that manner. But with Jacques-Louis David, I feel like that when you see his paintings, that's probably what those people actually looked like. And I like that about that. I think that's really interesting. So yeah, he was my favorite painter when I was studying art instead of design. I thought it'd be so cool. And I used to one of my goals was I really wanted to be somebody who painted one of the presidents in the National Portrait Gallery. I thought that would be so cool in Washington. That's one of my favorite art museums there. Okay, you can see that somehow I'm gonna have to Command Z because somehow I was trying to draw over it with my pencil tool and I was hoping that it would create the new line, but it's not doing that. So got to be just a jumble. So I'm gonna start over and that's okay. Okay. But I love painting portraits. I love painting portraits. Okay, Prax Cruz is recommending Jack Whitehall Travels with His Father on Netflix. Okay, he's hilarious. He used to be in this show called The In-Betweeners. It's a British coming of age TV show about middle school, high school boys, and it's hilarious. It's so funny. And then there's another one that's by I think the same writer creator, and it's about college, and I can't remember what that one's called. I think it's Fresh Meat is what it's called. But those BBC coming of age shows are so funny, and they're so much better than the Gossip Girl stuff that we had. I was never a Gossip Girl person. I just was how can anybody relate to these people? I had braces and was very, very dorky. Once I got my braces off, I kind of found myself, found my stride a bit. But I could not relate to that at all. The OC I could definitely relate to though. The OC they used to have watch parties here. We were obsessed. Okay, so now I'm seeing that there's a lot of detail over here. So I think what I'm going to do is actually just cut those, put them over here, add a bit of detail over here. And I might do that. I might kind of steal some stuff again. I might just copy this and paste it over here. And that can be how I kind of add detail there. Okay, you can kind of see that this is coming together. This is starting to look good. I think I'm going to select these and just go down with that. Oh, excellent. Drag that up. Okay, it's looking good. Okay, cool. Okay, Nicholas Furry says he's been watching a lot of YouTube stuff. He watched Abstract on, the design documentary. Oh, Abstract is so great. I've never seen it in full. I just said it's so great, but I've never seen it in full. But what I saw was very compelling. Speaking of documentaries, I've been watching a lot of true crime style stuff and The Last Dance, of course. Love that kind of documentary stuff. I need to finish that up. I'm still behind on that. But Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix, whew, that is that show. I can't believe that it still holds up and the new one is as good as the original. So good. Definitely recommend it. Ooh, Bly Manor. People are recommending Bly Manor if you like scary stuff. I haven't seen that yet, but my sisters are watching it. Okay, so this is looking good. You know what else I like to do? I like to do just a big old round sun. It's not how it really goes, but I like that. And we could even hide it in the clouds if we want to, but I like that look of like very California. Everything else can be pretty detailed and like accurate to life, but yeah, I really like the kind of like big round sun. It's kind of like, it almost reminds me a lot of like Japanese style letterpress. And is it letterpress or wood blocks? But the way that they used to do their like etchings and their screen printing back in the day is really cool to see. I can't remember which, I think it's at LACMA where they used to have a pretty good exhibit of those old etchings and letterpress and screen prints from like Japan and that kind of thing. I love those as well. You want to talk about detail. I just love the gradients and the detail. Gradients back then. It's so cool. I get a lot of inspiration from that. So yeah, so I think what I'll do is I'll just get another little cloud coming in here, and then I think we might call it a day on the clouds, and we might do, I wonder, or do we? I was thinking, I like how there's usually like big clouds up here at the top of the sky, but then sometimes there'll be like these little, like off in the distance, like kind of like wispy ones. I think I'm going to do some of those. So I've got my pencil tool, and I'm just going to kind of clean up. Wow, that is so bad. I'm just going to start again. And just going to get some of these going. Yeah, that's good. And they're not even usually that detailed. That's probably still too detailed. They're like really, really simple, just on the horizon. And these would be really low. And then as they get higher, they get a little bit bigger and a bit more interesting. So maybe we can go in here and create some interest there. Cool. Yeah, it's looking good. All right. So I think this, also I love this trick of like, say I ended here. I'm just going to zoom in. If you just like direct select both of those endpoints and just go Command J, that'll join that. I love that shortcut. Use it all the time. And then I think I'm just going to go ahead and redraw over this because it's my little redraw trick hasn't been working as well. Okay, yeah, that's looking pretty good. This is a bit awkward though, so we are going to redraw this. Maybe make it a bit more organic. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's looking good. I think that is, and then if we just stagger this, maybe stagger this over here, this kind of would be over here. Maybe we rotate it a bit. Yeah. Yep. Wonderment Studio says, this feels like the kind of thing where I'd like have to remind myself clouds aren't perfect like 400 times. Yes. That is me to a T. I get so wrapped up in the details and redrawing stuff a million times. And it's taken me a long time to just kind of like learn the whole concept of just keep going. Just keep going, and you can refine the details that need it later after you've stepped back to look. Okay, that's good. That's good. That's good. I like this. This is looking good. So I think what I might do is, I think I might start. No, I'm not going to make you guys sit here and watch me do the shape builder tool. I don't think. I think I'm just going to call it a day. That's what I think I'm going to do. It's been about an hour and a half. This is where we ended. And I think I might stream again in a couple, I don't know, maybe a couple days or something and finish this up. But I think we got pretty far. We did pretty good on this. And I think I'm just going to let it lie for a bit. And then I'm going to go back in with my shape builder tool and separate all the shapes out, assign some colors. And then it's the job of assigning the numbers to the colors. And I wonder, a lot of adult coloring books that you see actually don't even tell you a color. We're adults. We get to choose our own colors. Don't tell me what to do. So I think I might just keep it like this. Keep it like this, add a little bit more detail, and let people pick their own colors. Clement says it's definitely shaping out. And Isaac loved the pace. Thank you. I find I like a quick pace. I like it quick, but also mellow. A little bit of Bob Ross in there. Thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. Like I said, if you need a coffee vessel, today's stream was brought to you by the Hoodzpah shop, where you can get these mugs, these Helvetica and Street mugs. Definitely subscribe if you'd like to, be updated on next stream. Sometimes we're busy, we don't see the Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and email newsletter that I will send out about the next one. But if you're subscribed, you will always get notifications when we've got new videos. And we're trying to do this more weekly. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes we get busy, but it's so fun to do and we love hanging out. So yeah, tune in. Thanks so much for hanging out, and wishing you strong Wi-Fi and a full Netflix queue.